We are continuing in the 27th letter. The Alter Rebbe is writing this letter to followers of Reb Mendel Haradoker after his passing, to console them. To console them, the passing of their mentor, teacher, Rebbe, Menachem Mendel of Haradok, who was at the time living in the Holy Land, made Aliyah to Israel about 11 years earlier, and his passing was 1788. So what do you tell someone about their passing of their mentor, their teacher, their Rebbe, a righteous individual? So we spoken a bit about this in the previous class, and the Alter Rebbe now is going to elucidate. Today's class, I must tell you, is a very short one, and it's only the beginning of the elucidation of understanding a remarkable statement made in the Zohar. I'm going to read it in the Aramaic, in its original, and I'll translate it, of course. Tzadikaya di'ispater. Tzadikaya, it's Aramaic, not even Hebrew, but Aramaic is very similar to Hebrew. Not Arabic, Aramaic. So tzadikaya from the word tzadik, a righteous person. Di'ispater, departs, meaning leaves this world, passes on. Shtakach b'kulei almin. That righteous individual is found in all of the worlds, yater mibechayayu, more than during their lifetime. That's a remarkable statement. That's like a very powerful statement. A righteous person is to be found in all of the worlds more than when they were physically alive. The Alter Rebbe is going to give the explanation in I think it's tomorrow's class, how we understand that intellectually, but he's going to go further into this and question, how do you understand this? So when we leave this world, means our soul is separated from the body. You may have heard this from me before, but it's worth sharing. Does anybody know how to define life? I ask this question all the time, especially in the Shiva. And people don't know how to define life. They give a medical explanation. That's not a definition of life. Or they give the opposite of life, death. Well, that's not definition of life. We're living, and no one knows what it means to live. So then I ask, what's the definition of death? Well, the opposite of life. Death is like, it's all black. No. So, definition of death is separation of body and soul. The definition of life, therefore, is the fusion of body and soul. And the definition of living life is that everything that we do in our lives is fused with soulfulness. Soul and body together. So if you do something purely for the body, then you're not really living. But if you do something that's soulful in your body, then you're truly living. So with this, the Alter Rebbe starts to explain what real life is. This is my addition over here. But with this, then we can understand now a little about what it means. How's it possible that a righteous person is more alive in this world? You can understand in the world of spirit, in the world of souls. Of course, the soul is eternal and therefore it lives on and it is alive and well. But that's not what the Zohar is saying. It's saying all worlds, including this world. That's what we need to understand. So, of course, then we need to understand what is their life. And therefore, what did they leave behind in this world that in that sense they are more alive? So we started to explain this in the previous class. A tzaddik gives over to their followers things in life and then afterlife. Well, in life and afterlife, for the tzaddik, there's no difference. Again, just to mention once again, if our life is about the physical pleasures of this world, you know what? It's really over after 120. It's truly over because you're not having physical pleasures anymore. And even if it's maybe not purely physical pleasures, but in any case, so what is true life of the tzaddik? In physical living here in this world and in living and in their soul that is eternal and continues, like all souls eternal. The tzaddik, again, is not fleshy life, but of the spirit that's consisting of faith, awe, and love. Now, that faith, awe, and love is not only for themselves, and this is something that's important about a righteous person. A righteous person who lives for himself is not really righteous. Not really righteous. Righteous person is really there for others. I mean, you can make the argument we're all there for others. Not as much. We got to work on ourselves. We've got to, work on ourselves. And yes, we've got to be there for others. No doubt. But the righteous is about transmitting to their followers, their disciples, those that are connected to them, and giving life, giving their life, which is faith, awe, and love of God. That it should be a part of their life. That's what it means. A righteous lives by his faith, lives by it. Not has faith. We all have faith. But not what we live by. The awe of God leads to life for the righteous. And someone who pursues tzedakah and chesed will find life. Love, which is what motivates kindness, that is life. In other words, it's not, that most of us, when we're doing good, to a certain point of it is that it makes me feel good, which is great. It's good that, being charitable and praying and having faith makes you feel good. That's fantastic. Here we're talking about something much more profound. It's energizing, giving life. Life, not just of the spirit, but literally life that affects the flesh of the individual. And in every gradation of life, will have that proportion of how faith in God, awe of God, love of God is what's giving vitality to that individual. It's what causes and brings into being this righteous individual, who then, being righteous means that they're there to give that which they have to others. Which ultimately all of us have to do that, but the righteous, That's what they're giving to us. So, again, I said it's a short class, and it's not giving the full answer over here. It's not, just the beginning. But what we see over here is very clear, is that they're giving to us something during their life, and then after their life, physical life over here, they're giving even more. Now, how do you wrap your mind around it to give more? To give similarly, to give less that you get. But what we're going to learn in tomorrow's class is the understanding how that is a true reality of what we're getting, which will give for everyone a little glimpse into where I'm at, and others are at this time. It's 26 years after the passing of the Rebbe. Yet, people's love and devotion to him is very much there, and you can say that his influence is greater today than it was when he was physically alive. Actually, we don't even need to go there. We'll do that tomorrow. Let's go to the Alter Rebbe. The Alter Rebbe, author of the Tanya, is more influential today than even when he was physically alive. That's what we're saying here, right? All righteous people. How do you understand that? Well, let's take the reality. The reality is that today there are more people learning Tanya than in the days of the Alter Rebbe. Now, that doesn't mean we're understanding it better, doesn't mean we're more devoted, that has to do maybe with other things, but the fact is there are more people today studying Tanya than ever before, than in the days of the Alter Rebbe. After his passing, 200 years later, it's 208 years since his passing, and there are more people learning Tanya now than ever before. Wow, that's powerful. The Rambam. There are more people studying Maimonides' teachings, the Rambam, today than ever before. In his day, for sure. There is no comparison to how many are studying it today compared to in the days of the Rambam himself. A dear friend of mine was once traveling. I met an Orthodox rabbi, but not a Chabad rabbi. And the day was Yutis Kislev. 19th of Kislev, which is the day that the Alter Rebbe was released from prison. It's when we start a new cycle of the study of Tanya. And he says, "Oh, it looks to me like you're a Lubavitcher Chassid." He says, "Yes." He says, let me ask you a question, he says. Who has a greater influence? Who has a greater influence? The Alter Rebbe or Napoleon? Let me ask you another question. Who knows in this world of Napoleon, and how many people know of the Alter Rebbe? So the second answer was a very simple one. Of course, there's a lot more people that know of Napoleon than they know of the Alter Rebbe. And he proceeded to answer himself, not a Chabad Chassid. And he says, yes, a lot more people know of Napoleon, of who he is. But who is the followers of Napoleon today? Are there any? Maybe they follow some of the So some of his teachings or of his politics have been instituted, but does anybody think of him today? Follow him? Care about him? Feel inspired by him? Look at a picture of him and say, wow, great man. Pray tell, no. I mean, maybe there are a few. But the Alter Rebbe, he's got followers today like never before. He's got people who are inspired by him today like never before. His influence is much greater than Napoleon, even though it's much less known. Why is that? Very simple. Because of the statement we made over here. Napoleon was not moved by faith in God, love and awe of God at all. If anything, quite the opposite. So maybe he was kicked up a big storm and made lots of noise, and and no doubt, his name will be there in history. But his influence maybe, it was definitely not direct. Maybe a lot of non-direct influence that he has today, but definitely not direct to anybody. Or very few. Even people are researchers, historians. Not doing it because they're beloved followers of Napoleon. Not at all. He's my Rebbe, he's my mentor, he's my teacher. Well, I haven't met such people, at least. But everybody here that's watching right now, and so many people around the world who study Chitas every day and do the Tanya, a lesson every day, whether it's online or whether it's from the book itself or whatever manner that they do it, feel very close and very connected to the Alter Rebbe, to his teachings, and to his inspired influence. It's a powerful story. All right. Tomorrow. All right, folks. Looking, I don't see any questions. Unless I missed something. All right. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine coming to you from Chabad Zurich and Kadeshim in Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. Have a wonderful day. A good Vach, a good week.